Hey everyone, this is Knobert, and today we have a special deck with an even more special guest. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm Antonio Oliva. I recently hit number one on DB for a couple of weeks, coming to YCS Bologna, playing Dracotail, and I think I designed the deck in a unique way that has not been seeing a lot of play right now, but we'll get over it later. And yeah, let's get to it.
Yeah, let's hop on deck profile. I really like. I saw the list and it looked so cool, and I tried it. It was actually really, really fun. But before we go actually into the deck, I have one question. What about your DB username? Where's that from? Because it's German. It's the German Digimon opening.
Yes,
So,
yes,
where
yes.
did that come from?
You know. So as I don't speak German, I
Mm-hmm.
like did a couple of years, but I'm terrible at it. But I do know the entire lyrics for the Digimon song because honestly it's amazing.
It's so
So when I
good.
was doing my DB name, I just chose Leb dein Traum, and now it's just really funny because everyone talks to me in German whenever
Yeah,
I'm playing,
yeah,
and I can read German, but I cannot speak
yeah,
it. So I
yeah.
just keep replying in English until they notice that I can't speak any German.
That's really funny. I just saw the name on DB Grinder and I was like, that's a throwback. All right, so let's
Oh
hop
yeah, no,
into
he
the
can't pronounce it.
yeah. He can't pronounce anything. So anyway, let's hop into the deck profile. So we have three Mololo. This is pretty standard, right? We have the three Lucias and three Mana, and then we have the one Frixel as is standard in like most decks nowadays. And then for the big dragon ratios, we have two Pan, three Urgila, which is a very standard ratio right now. I think Danilo Siracusa started it because Urgila is just the best one in the mirror. I think that is the main reason for it. And that's the Dracotail monster lineup. Now let's go into the Dracotail spells. Um, the segment is always very quick because it's like not much to talk about except for the big dragon ratios. So we of course max out on the Kitu as long as it's at 3, and then we have 3 Rahu and all 3 traps, which is also standard right now. So not big surprises here in the Dracotail engine. The cool parts are starting now. So we run 2 Fallen Out of Virtuous, but no branded fusion in the main deck. We instead run 3 Blazing Cartesia, which has been played a lot in the beginning already, and it's still a popular side deck card, but here it is maxed out in the main deck. And then we have 1 Havness. This is, I think, the 40th card of the deck, I think you said in your guide, but it does have
Pretty
some
much.
uses that we'll go into later. And then for the non-engine, we have 10. We have 1 Magnamut, and then we have a playset of each of Ash Blossom, Ghost Bell, and Uvalos. So 10 non-engine plus the 3 mana to interact with your opponent, and then it's just Dracotail goodness to break boards. Then we have the extra deck, which is on the Dracotail part, very standard. Again, is 3 Athalion, 1 Gulamel. Gulamel because we are mixing another engine. The extra deck here is very tight. We'll see some extra deck cards in the side deck. And we have Secretarian Mysterion. I like Mysterion in this slot because this is more of a pure-ish main deck, so we don't have like Philia Regis easy access because we don't main Branded Fusion, and the Chaos is here. So no Philia Regis, but we run Chaos and Mysterion, so I like that combination here a lot. And then we have the Dracos Tapelia, Granguinol, and Luluwa Lilith. This is the spicy package that is enabled by the Cartesia and the Havness, and we'll talk about them just in a second. And for the links, we have Cross Sheep, SP Little Knight. We have a Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord, which also belongs to this whole package. Granguinol is a level 8, Artholion is 2. And then we have 2 branded cards because we run 2 Fallen the Virtuous, and this is 1 Albion and 1 Mirajade. And I believe this before was the Dragon Devouring the Dogma and now has been swapped for a Mirajade, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. So that is the extra deck. And for the side, we have the 2 Fenris for going first. We have 1 Shiren as an additional tier element name. We have 1 Nibiru. And then we have 3 Purulia, 3 Lancia for everything that banishes, like Lunalight, Malice. We side the Branded Fusion and the Albas, and 2 targets for Titaniclad and Lubellion. So that is the deck profile for now, but let's hop to talk about some card choices and then show you some combos. So I have laid out the spicy cards right here. Do you want to explain why you run this package? And let's start with the Cartesia package. So Granguinol and the Luluwa Lilith, I guess, and then the Photon Lord next to it. So what is the idea behind this?
So basically, the deck has a problem where like the ceiling is the lowest out of all of the like competitive decks right now, and people try to like one up the ceiling with Branded Fusion, or now we're gonna have the Magistus cards. I just wanted to have a way to still increase the ceiling of the main deck, because this is a pure build. This is not playing like Shadows or Branded, while still like having enough flexibility. And I think Granguignol and Cartesia just give you a lot of stuff that most people are not aware of, or like have undervalued. Especially Cartesia being a material that you can fuse for 5 mana, because it's not a spell as a poly, and also it making Granguignol, because Granguignol represents like a +5 or 6 over the course of a game. Granguignol sends Albion, which gets you Fallen and the Virtuous, or it can send any of the branded cards. That's like pretty well known. But it also can make Photon Lord with an Arthalion, because Arthalion basically is a vanilla as on the field, and people use it to make seals. But if you put it under a Photon Lord, you're not losing to Secretarian Dragon. And also you have a way to protect your trap cards, because the out to your trap cards usually is Bell and Ash. So Photon Lord gives you a way to make sure that they resolve. And also Photon Lord protects your Rahu from getting ashed, because a lot of people, if they only have one Ash Blossom, they either save it for a trap or they save it for the Rahu after they've seen Arthalion. And you can just checkmate that by going into Photon Lord. Also, it checkmates 5 mana in the mirror as well. And the Luluwa Lilith may seem strange, especially since we're playing a lot of extra deck monsters in this side deck. But the thing with Lulu, it's a free monster that gives you follow-up because it floats into Cartesia. And also, it deals with some of the most problematic monsters that hinder Dracotail. Mostly, it just deals with Ripper and Jurak Meteor, which are really, really annoying for the deck to deal with if you're just playing a pure version. And by playing Granguignol, you just get it for free and out to those monsters.
Yeah, basically what you said is you wanted to increase the ceiling, but you wanted to transfer the ceiling into the extra deck instead of the main deck, so you have the main deck as flexible and as pure as possible, right?
There's also one thing that like the Seals line is sometimes a bit risky, because you can get caught by like an Izuna or a Holy Su on the Spirit with Eyes of Blue summon. So I usually don't prefer it over this, because you can get locked, and then you're locked out of Gulamel, for example. If you only have the Spirit with Eyes of Blue and you have no more ways to summon more dragons to get to Seals before locking yourself to fusions. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Is Cartesia is a material every turn, and also it can produce a lot of stuff that maybe Poly cannot.
Yeah. Okay, and then or do you wanted to say something else about this?
No, that's completely fine. We can go over the tier elements. So we're playing 2 tiers, one in the main and one in the side. The theory behind both is the same. It's just that Halfness is a bit better than Shiren in most circumstances, because you can jump it against like the Murakumo or a Jurek Meteor, and try to mill to get better pan hits, or just in general to like fuse into Drago or a Granguignol if you have a Cartesia. And the idea is you just want to make Drago Stapelia. Sometimes you will make Grang, then most of the time you will make Drago Stapelia. And the reason is I basically was looking for, as you said, a 40th card. And I didn't like any of the non-engine cards that were being played right now. And the deck that struggles the most with is Vanquish All Canine. That's pretty much like common for every Dracotail variant. and Dragostapilia deals with both Holisu and Izuna, and you can just make it for free with an Arthalion. I think the tiers were at first being played, but they faded out of the metagame. But for this version in particular, since you're not lacking ways to fuse, but you also want it to be as flexible as you can, having your 40th card help in dealing with your worst matchup was better for me than playing another non-engine, like let's say a Nibiru or a Droll
Yeah.
on that slot.
All right. And we already talked about why the Havness over the Shiren in the main, because you can just jump it into some monsters. Now, another thing I wanted to ask you about is in the Google Doc that you posted and that I will also put in the description below if you want to read it. I highly recommend it. You had the Dragon Devouring the Dogma, and now we have the Mirror Jade in the extra deck now.
Yeah, so originally the Google Doc was made before Bologna, so it was made before all of the Vanquish Soul renaissance that we've seen in the past few weeks. And so the meta that it was trying to combat was the one where Dracotail was the best deck. So the deck was designed to beat Dracotail, and if it wasn't Dracotail, it was probably Mitsuyami or just pure Mitsu or Malice. And Dogma dealt with those decks pretty well because it cut follow-up, and also you could super poly their board if you used Albaz. For example, against the Mitsu monsters, you didn't need them to have an extra deck monster or to spend another card on Lubellion. You could just fuse like super poly their entire field with Albaz. Yep. And in Dracotail, you already have enough ways to deal with monsters that it didn't feel like you needed Mirror Jade. And Mirror Jade is best used when you have like extra ways to abuse it, like let's say for example Renbrum, which we're not playing. Yep. But since Vanquish Soul K9 has been so popular these days, I had to change the Dogma for a Mirror Jade just to give like another small edge on that matchup.
All right, gotcha. So then the other thing I wanted to ask about is the cross sheep. One of my favorite cards, by the way, in Dracotail. I love the cross sheep lines. If you don't get into your Cartesia plays, do you try to go into cross sheep, or do you do something else, or do you just flow with the game? Like how often do you use it, and what do you use it for? Like the Frixel line, of course, where you send the Frixel, summon the Gulamel in the zone, bring Frixel back, and then you bounce the 5 mana and you go plus a lot. But like, is there anything else you want us to know about the cross sheep, how you use it?
So usually for cross sheep, it really depends on what you're playing against. Cross sheep is really strong whenever you're not going to be interrupted. So if you're playing like against an impulse deck, you probably won't go into cross sheep because it's a bit risky. You might end on SP because at least you have a guaranteed interruption. But if you can make it, it's really strong, especially with Cartesia. If you have, for example, Cartesia in rotation, what you can do is just do your normal combo, go into cross sheep. Then even if you get interrupted, Cartesia will go back to your hand in the end phase. And if you have 5 mana, you can make Granguignol during the opponent's turn, send Nibiru both side. And when Granguignol hits on cross sheep, it will reborn the Cartesia. And then Cartesia can go make an Arthalion to grab the Nibiru.
Yeah, so you go, the Nibiru is on the side. That's why we have a single copy of Nibiru on the side. You can dump it here, and then whenever this fuses to make an Arthalion, you just go and grab it back. And it's really hard to kill through that. And even after you nib, you still have the Granguignol in the grave to get it to Luluwa Lilith if you need to.
Yeah, this used to be the anti-Yummy insurance. Even if everything went wrong, this still worked. Also, just in general, like even if you're not making it turn 1, Crush Sheep is an excellent grind game card. Just link to monsters, reborn, any fusion, and then you're off to the races. Yeah.
Cool. So then let's talk about the side deck, because that side deck is very interesting. So this Havness is in the main, but we talked about the Nibiru. So I was wondering why there's a single Nibiru just for siding patterns, but now there's a really good reason for that. And I think
also Liger Dancer.
Yeah,
You need an out.
for the Titanic Clad here. So
Yes.
let's just go over the exotic monsters here first. So and with that, of course, the branded fusion. So in which matchups and on which, like, going first or second, do you want to have the branded fusion? Like,
So for branded fusion, basically almost every matchup except the mirror, you're siding Rafu in. The thing is, most people just play branded fusion as like the main part of the strategy because it's so strong and it's quite straightforward to use. But by using branded fusion, you're giving up on a lot of flexibility options, like we mentioned with Photon Lord, Cross Sheep, and all of that. So I don't like to play it as a main strategy, but right now after D barrier got banned, it's basically made Branded Fusion like the best war breaker that the deck can play. So even if it costs you like side deck slots, I still want to play it. It gives you so much stuff. As we mentioned, it gives you an out to Liger Dancer without having to play Kaijus. Um, Usually it's not even making Mirror Jade, it's just making Chaos to like out like
yeah.
either Retaliating Sea or a Dimensional Fissure. And it just gives you so much value for in like a very small package. So even though I'm not playing it as a as a main deck strategy, it's so much better than everything else that you can play as non-engine.
So what do you side out actually for the two fusions if you put the brand fusion in? Like, do you set that conflicts with the Photon Lord? Do you just take that out, or?
Yeah, so basically every time that the branded cards go in, almost certainly Photon Lord's gonna go out. It really depends on how many cards you want to side out and which ones they are. Like, for example, I usually want to leave one Cartesia in just because of the flexibility that it produces. So I would usually side out Photon Lord and Cross Sheep. But if I'm siding out Halfness, for example, I am probably not going to make Dragastapelia. So I might keep the Cross Ship in because it might come up in grind games. But if I have to side out a ton of cards, like let's say, for example, against Malice, then I am siding out all the Cartesias. So I keep the Photon Lord and the Cross Sheep, and I just side out Grang and Lolo. So it really just depends on how many cards are you siding and which ones.
All right, gotcha. I always have issues with like siding exotic cards. Like, how do I do it the best? But
Oh,
that
it's
makes a lot of
terrible
sense.
in tournament.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
terrible in
You just
tournament.
show
It's
them. You just
so
show
much
them.
easier. So much easier in DB.
Yeah. So then we have the two Fenrir, and I guess the third Chiron is also for going first because we have three Charmies in the main. Or how do you approach this?
Yeah, so usually what you side going first is the two Fenrirs and the Nibiru. But if you're playing like let's say for example the mirror where Nibiru might be a bit more conditional depending on what version they're running, and just Shrine might be a bit more consistent, then you go with these three. Sometimes you will side all four and just take out like a bell if it's not that good in the matchup. But the idea of why I went with Fenrir, even though it's like pretty common of a side deck card nowadays for going first, the idea was it helps with the problematic matchup. Again, this deck is supposed to beat the mirror. It has a lot of ways to edge out wins in the mirror because you're playing all of a lot of monsters. You're playing the least amount of spells that you can, and you're still playing like your spells still help you to beat the mirror. Like for example, you're playing the Fallen and the Virtuous to try to dodge Flame, and since you're doing well against the mirror, you're only playing the hand traps that deal with it, like Yami, Mitsu, and so on. The one deck that you want the most help with are the Canine variants and to some extent Malice. And Fenrir is pretty much like the best non-engine for that hits both at the
Yeah.
same time. So that's the reasoning for these four cards as the going first cards.
Okay, and then for the last slots, we have three Lancia, which is pretty standard against Malice. Malice generally is a bit tough, but I've seen people play Chaos Hunter over Lancia. Now, Chaos Hunter costs you a card in hand, so I believe that's why you don't run it. But right now, I don't think Malice runs an out for Chaos Hunter.
So yeah, Chaos Hunter also works here. Lancia definitely also is fine. I think it comes down to preference. There are like pros and cons for both. I think for just beating Malice, Chaos Hunter probably is a little bit better. Lancia, for example, can help against the Lunalite deck because you can keep looping it,
That's
whereas
true.
they can out a Chaos Hunter.
Yeah.
So it just comes to preference. I think both are fine.
Okay. And then the last slot is Purulia. I think that was in already before the Canine Resurgence, but now even more so. It's very, very good for those decks.
Yeah, so Porolia, I think Meowth is very common right now, but I like Porolia more because it hits the mostly the same decks. It hits Yummy, it hits all of the problematic going first decks like K9, Ryziel, and so on that you really want to have card draw against. And also, there's one thing that I believe it was Dave Fecht that popularized the Radiant Typhoon version of
Yeah.
Malice. So you can play Meowth for Malice, and they probably will give you like a couple of draws, or you can just play Porolia and also accomplish the same thing, or they end up on a minimalistic board that you can still beat even if they give you like one draw or no draws. So I think Porolia covers more matchups than Meowth does, and the matchups that it covers are usually the ones that you need the most help with. Whereas Meowth is just like a bit more win more against matchups that you're usually doing fine against.
Yeah. That all makes a lot of sense. I like this extra deck. This is a bit like big, but like you said, it's so good that it's worth it, all the slots. So that's it for the whole deck. Now let's hop into some combos with the Cartesia, because I personally, when I played the deck, I had some issues finding the lines. Now I've already learned some stuff from you, but let's just have you guide me through some of the lines. So we have an example hand for a Photon Lord line, and I'm gonna just let you guide me through it. So how would you play this hand?
So it obviously depends on what the opponent's deck is playing if you know it, but if you don't, this is a very common setup for a Photon Lord setup. You can go normal Cartesia. You fuse, you activate its effect and fuse both names to make an Arthalion. And Arthalion 1 to grab both back to the hand, and then Chainlink 2, 5 mana, Chainlink 3, the other name. So in this case, you would be setting Ketu and Rahu. And then you activate Ketu to grab any of the light or darks. You can grab Frixel or you can grab Molulu. It really depends on what, for example, with this, with Pan, it depends on if you're expecting to have to deal later with card effect destruction. Maybe Molulu is better to have the instant power, or maybe, for example, here Frixel can grab you 5 mana back. But here we'll just do Frixel. You can go now 5 mana effect to send Frixel and Cartesia and make Grang. And now you go Grang, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, Frixel. So Frixel will set Flame. Usually it's the first trap that you prioritize. And Grang will send Albion. Now you will, here you have your 2 level 8s. So usually you just go for Photon Lord. People do not respect this, and whenever they see this, they go like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna hold for end of main to do like my Zuna, all of my setup, and then they just get caught by the Photon Lord. And even if they go for something else, Grang can still tag for Lulu, so you're still kind of protected. But now that you have
Just
your
a
Photon
small
Lord, you know that
interlude.
you're
If your opponent expects a Photon Lord and they have Retaliating Sea and they activate it on Nikito, you can just go SP banish the Retaliating Sea, right? You have a Grangunal. No, you have a Arthalion and a Cartesia field, right?
Yeah, and you still have Rahu. So if
Yeah.
they retaliating see on Ketu, then
Yeah.
you still get to resolve Rahu.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then you get to do Photon Lord.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now that you know that your that your Rahu is not going to get ashed, now you go Rahu. Here we're going to go for Orgula because we need that 5 mana back.
And we
so
take a
just
blank, right?
send. Yeah, if it was a hand trap, I'd probably be sending Pan. But if it's for example, Fuwa or something else, then yeah, you send the blank, and you make your Gulamel. And now we're gonna go Orgula effect and set another trap. When you go blind, nowadays I usually go for Sting, because you already have enough removal right now with
Yeah.
this hand, but sometimes Horn is better. And now that we have this, Orgula to get back 5 mana, pretty standard. Now in the end phase, we will go, Cartesia and Albion for Fallen and the Virtuous. Now this looks a bit small because it's just 2 monsters and 2 traps, but the spell is kind of, Fallen and the Virtuous is kind of what makes this get really together, because usually with Dracotail, you have a problem where you're always 1 card short of trying to completely stop your opponent's push with, let's say, like Mitsuyami or really like Malice, whenever they have a really strong push. And sometimes all you need is just to pop the last name after they've gone through the standard Dracotail board. And Photon Lord also helps deal with like Sagi effect or any Malice and Banish. So this board looks kind of normal, but it's really, really strong. You also still have Mysterian access through here Pan and Cartesia. You can make Arthalion, you're going to get your Cartesia back. Because once you detach for Photon Lord, you're gonna have another monster from the extra deck in the graveyard. Same when you send for Fallen, and also Grang and Arthalion are gonna be accessible depending on which one you detach. And as we said, Lulu can also help deal with K9. So after you negate something, like let's say for example they try to Ash one of your traps, you go Photon Lord to negate, and then Lulu checks Ripper, so you know that your 5 mana is gonna go through, and maybe they have to go for a different setup. So it really can cover a lot of sticky situations that usually Dracotail finds itself in when trying to defend their board.
And you also have so many interactions in so many different locations. Like you have back row, of course. You have 2 monsters that does something. You have 5 mana in the hand. You have possibly not another hand trap, and also the Granguinol or Arthalion that comes from the grave. So like your opponent can't possibly like check all of the locations here. So this is very, very strong board.
It's also kind of hard to stop this setup because you might get impermed on Cartesia, but usually the interaction is going to go to like a Arthalion or the Rahu, and the Rahu gets protected by Photon Lord. And if the Arthalion gets impermed, you still get to do basically everything that Dracotail wants to do, and the Cartesia would remain on board. So you would still have a lot of follow-up. And so it's very layered, and it like helps deal with the standard ways of dealing with the Dracotail, which is like acting at the end of the main before they pass turn, which is when they have spent all of the effects, but Photon Lord helps you survive that.
Yeah.
Also, one thing that you can do, sorry.
No, go
One
ahead.
thing that you can do if you open Fallen, because if you open Fallen, you don't need to do Grang. You can just go for a more aggressive line for Secretarian or straight up Mysterian, for example, if you know that you're playing against Malice. If you open Fallen, what you usually do is you hold it till the end phase.
Yep.
Because if they go Izuna or Holisu or whatever, but Izuna is the juiciest target, you just let it go through, and then you just declare end of main. They have to summon the Lupis, otherwise they miss the chance, and you declare end of turn, and they're always going to try to Xyz on your turn, because if they don't, you can pop the Lupis in their before their main.
Yep.
And when they do, they get punished by Fallen super hard.
Yep.
Okay. If there's no Izuna, you can just pop an Arthalion, and it doesn't really matter, and you just reset another one with Albion.
Yep. So speaking about Imperm, you said that when we start the combo, you have the Cartesia, and then you start off by using the Cartesia to fuse both of the names. But if your opponent imperms you there, then you don't have anything to dodge. Now, let's say you had a third name, and you would start off with the Cartesia. Let's take this away. And you fuse with that. So you go Cartesia, you fuse the other two names, and you have an Arthalion, and then you can still dodge the imperm on the Arthalion, right? You would keep the 5 mana in hand.
So it depends. The thing with keeping 5 mana in hand is that you're probably not gonna be using it to fuse unless the Rahu resolves. So if you're playing around Ash, then it's better to fuse the 5 mana and just get the guaranteed trap. So I might just fuse all three. And if they have Imperm Ash, then it's a harder punish, but you still have all three traps plus Cartesia, which can get like into a Mysterion. So it's kind of fine because they spend 2 cards and then you have 3 draws plus a fusion summon. But one thing that you can do is if your 5 mana gets stuck in the graveyard, then you can go with Cartesia and Arthalion. You can go into Cross Sheep and do what we talked about earlier about the Frixel line.
Yeah, so we have Kitu and
because
Rahu because we fused 2 monsters, but we got impermed on this, right?
So you can go Cross Sheep now. And then you get to for a name, let's say, for example, Lucius or Orgula. And then you would Rahu for the other one.
Yep.
And then when you make your Gulamel, the Cross Sheep can revive the Lucius and grab you another 5 mana.
And you also get 2 traps.
Or in this case, it might be better a ban instead of a 5 mana, since you're getting your 5 mana from Orgula.
So yeah, this gets pan. And then you still add back with the Urgula.
And you would have Cartesia as well in the end phase.
Yeah.
And well, technically you would also have a third trap because this was the case where I had an extra name and I just fused all 3 and inted into a big imperm.
Yeah.
So you would still end on all of this. And the cool thing about this board is the Cross Sheep next turn can reborn a Cartesia. So you're going to have 2 fusions instead of just 1.
Yeah. Yeah, so even if you get impermed, you still end on a decently sized hand for fusion summoning, and you have all the traps plus Cross Sheep, which gets you more value later. So, all right, cool. So that's it for this combo, and you wanted to show off another combo, right? So let's hop into that one. All right, so now we have a hand where we have the tier elements. I'm sure like some people want to know how to use those to the best effect. And of course, we have our MVP Cartesia, and we have a Dracotail name, plus in this case, just 2 blanks, but those can be like more names or non-engine or whatever.
So usually when you see a tier element, what you're gonna do is just make an Arthalion and turn it into Dracotail. So the special case is when you draw Cartesia, because when you draw Cartesia, you can go into an even better line, which would be normal Cartesia, and use the effect and just fuse the tier name plus Dracotail name. And you go chainlink 1 Arthalion, target just the tier element name, chainlink 2 the tier, and chainlink 3 the Dracotail name.
You mean target
and
just
you would
the 5
grab
mana?
Yeah, here it would be just the 5 mana, chainlink 2 the tier, and chainlink 3 the Dracotail name that you just sent. So here we would grab whatever spell we're missing. It really depends on what the rest of your hand looks like. Usually it's going to be extra names. So here, let's just grab a Rahu, yep. Then the chainlink 2 would resolve. Halfness and Cartesia make Granguignol. It's Cartesia plus a light or dark. And 5 mana would go back to hand. Here, Grang would send Albion, just like in the combo before. And here we have our setup for Photon Lord. We would go ahead and make it. And here the beautiful thing is we've basically managed to do most of our endboard without using any Dracotail fusion effects. So if we have 5 mana for other names, or we have Rahu or we have Ketu, we have not spent any of them. So here we would go Rahu and send whatever names we had left, or here in this case, yeah, whatever we had spare.
Or in this case, we could go 5 mana and then drop a. If this was hand traps, if this was real cards, we could drop a Urgula with this.
Urgula, yeah. Yeah, if it was just 2 hand traps, it would be Urgula, yeah. And here you would go Urgula for Flame, and Urgula get back the 5 mana, as always.
Yep.
And the cool thing about this is that, well, in the end phase, yeah, I'll be on for Fallen. And the cool thing is, this is basically most of our end board, and we didn't have to show the rest of the cards, or if we did, the other 2 cards in hand, probably they were named, so we would end on an even bigger board. But also, we shuffled our Cartesia, so we don't have our Cartesia right now in rotation. But whenever we negate with Photon Lord, Grang is gonna be in the graveyard, and Grang can go into Lulu. And whenever they out Lulu, or we out it ourselves by linking it off or whatever, Lulu will grab a Cartesia, so we get back to our rotation, even though we shuffled it with a tier name.
Yeah. That is really cool. And then you can also use Fallen the Virtuous to pop, and in this case, we only have a Mirror Jade left, but it's just a pop, and then that's it for that.
There's also certain scenarios where you can combine Lulu and Fallen and the Virtuous. For example, if they go like Jokul show Jokul, or Jokul show Lantern, or whatever, you can pop one of them with Fallen and the Virtuous, and Lulu will be able to negate the other that is still on field.
Because a monster left the extra deck. That's really cool. Yeah, I can tell you like played a lot of games with this deck. Yeah, so many interactions that it's really good. Like, I'm sure like most of the viewers will appreciate your knowledge here.
I think it's a very fun deck, and a very the deck scales very well with your skill level, because you find a lot more different interactions where you can use these, and combinations where you can use these cards, and it's not as easy to spot them as with some other maybe more standard or studied versions. So I think the deck is really strong, but I also think that it's really fun to play and learn. So I definitely recommend people give it a spin if they like it.
Yeah, Grangunal is such a cool card. Like, every time this is playable, I just want to play it because it's so versatile. It does so many things. Like, the nib line is so cool.
I used to play it even before Fallen and the Virtuous, just with Shadow cards, just to like have more draw power with Garura, because you could send Garura, and you would make it with a Shadow, draw 2, still make your Photon Lord, still make a Lulu and all of that, but like it was even worth it even before Fallen and the Virtuous, but now it's so much better.
Yeah. All right, that's the video. Thanks so much for being here, for sharing your knowledge. Do you have anything that you want to advertise here? Do you have like a Metafy or your Twitter account or a YouTube channel? Is there anything that you want the viewers to know? I'll put it in the description anyway, but...
So I definitely do not have a Metafy. I'm not a pro player. I just like to play the game, and sometimes I have good ideas, but definitely not on the same level as the professional guys. I do have a Twitter. In fact, this list was posted in a document I made, just so people could learn about this deck and enjoy a different variant of Dracotail. And I technically do have a YouTube channel for Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's mostly just like YouTube short combo slop. So it's pretty much similar to what you're doing with Spenta this month.
Yeah.
But I think it's maybe even more degenerate. So I don't know if it's people want to watch that.
I'll put it in the description nonetheless. But you are warned now, right? Like. All right. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks everyone for watching. And if you liked this video, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment, and I will see you next time.